Are you ready to level up? This video series is designed to inspire and empower those with a dream to step into the next level on their journey of becoming the confident, passionate soul that is within. Get ready to be inspired. Okay. Welcome back to another week of the Level Up series. I'm so excited to talk about leveling up socially today. And I've got a very special guest on for you guys. She is my fabulous friend. She's got the biggest heart of anybody I know. And I'm so excited for you guys to hear more from her. So please, everybody, welcome Melissa. She's going to be talking with us today. But first things first, Melissa, tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, what you do, all the fun things.
Okay, well, I'm so excited to get to be a part of this, so thank you, Haley. But my name is Melissa Imbach, and I actually live in Madison, Wisconsin right now. I was born and raised in Nebraska. I am a pure farm girl, now living in the city. So farming is a big part of my life, and a lot of the things that I think that I learned and made me, I learned growing up on the farm. But my husband and I live here in Madison, Wisconsin now. I am a full-time virtual assistant and have a blog, which I'm so excited about, and love to share pieces of my life on social media. I am a proud big sister and a mama to a babe in heaven. And I think that pretty much sums up Melissa.
I love it. No, and so you guys, when I was first thinking about socially, Melissa was the first person to come to mind. And I didn't even think for a second about anybody else, because truly she shows up so real, so authentic. Like what you see on social media is exactly who she is in person. And so when I was thinking about leveling up socially, it's kind of a weird way to say leveling up socially. I thought about obviously social media and how you're presenting yourself and really showing up as the real authentic you, but also the other side of like that work, life, family balance. And so I know we're about to dive into some really incredible stuff today. But first things first, when it comes to stepping into that next level socially, what does that mean to you?
Well, I think that you just gave the biggest compliment that somebody on social media can get. And that is that who you are in real life is the same person that you are on social media. And I guess to me, that is what leveling up socially looks like. It truly is being who you are, but getting to share that with a whole new group of people that you wouldn't normally get to share with in your real life. So being you and using that platform for some sort of good. I think that social media oftentimes gets this bad rap in our society, in our world, that there's a lot of negative things that can be associated with social media. And I think that there's so much good that can actually come from it. And so I think leveling up just simply means being who you are on social media, and then using that platform for some sort of good. And that's going to vary. What that looks like is going to vary, obviously, for each person, but figuring out what that looks like for you and making it happen.
Absolutely. So what do you find yourself posting often about social media? Like if someone hadn't followed you before, what would they see when they come to your social page?
Okay. So if I had to sum up Melissa in just a few simple things, my life jam, my purpose, my passion is truly to just spread joy. We live in a world that unfortunately has a lot of yuck in it. Mm-hmm. And so my passion is to just bring a little bit of that joy into the world. So my prayer is that when somebody would come and they would be meeting me virtually for the very first time through my small squares on Instagram, that they would feel that, they would feel the joy. They would feel that true excitement just for life and living a life of gratitude, that they would see that. But then they would also see this twist of my creativity. Like being creative is how I get my energy. It's how I fuel my passions. I have to be creative in some sort of way. And right now in life, that looks like creating a beautiful place to live. So, painting or restyling a shelf. I love home decor. And so I do it through that. And I think what's so cool is that I've kind of figured out a way to use home decor as an avenue to reach more people, to spread more joy. And so it just has kind of become that bridge, I guess. I figured out how to make that bridge between what I wanted to do to spread joy and being able to do that using this platform.
Yeah, I feel like social media is the vehicle. And then there's always so much more to it. It's so much more than just the pretty picture, you know. I feel like it's changing. It's really transitioning from just posting pictures like, here's my latte. No, now there's a message behind it. There's a purpose, there's a reason. And I find more and more people transitioning into putting good out, which makes me so happy because I think it is such a powerful tool if it's used in the right way.
Absolutely. And I think that, like, the question I always try to ask myself is like, what do I want social media to be?
Yeah.
Because I think oftentimes, like, when it's very easy to compare ourselves through those small squares. And when I catch myself doing that, I ask myself, well, what do I want social media to be? Because I'm the person that's posting my pictures and I'm the person that's sharing my stories, but I'm also the person that's choosing who I follow. And so if there's somebody that I'm following whose posts are making me feel small, that's on me. That's not on them. And so I think that, like, when you catch yourself in that way, it's important to just figure out, like, what is it for me? Like, social media for me, I want it to be a happy, joyful place. And so if I am following somebody who I'm just not jiving with what they're posting anymore, there's nothing wrong with hitting that mute button or that unfollow button. That's totally okay, because I want to protect that place, because when I spend time on that place, I want to walk away feeling positive. And so I think you just have to ask, like, what do I want that space, that social media, to look like? Because you have that power to make it that, whatever that is for you.
100%. I honestly have never thought about it that way. Like, we have control over who we follow, over what we see. Like, it really is a tool, and we are the ones that decide how we use that tool. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, because I think that sometimes, like, if I look at something or like look at, a beautiful home, and I'm like, that's not fair that they get that, or of course they're getting this many likes on their photo because they have this. Well, that is not on them. That is so on me that I'm feeling that way. And so it's either just an adjustment in my attitude or how I'm looking at things, or an adjustment on if that's somebody that I need to continue to follow or not. Because it can be such a good place if we're being protective of those things.
100%. So when you think of, like, how you use social media now, one thing I love about following you is you really do take people on a journey. Like, you show the good, you show the bad, like, you show everything in between, and really let people in to your life. And I know that sometimes that can be hard to do, to show up real and authentic. So by doing so, can you think of a time that it has impacted you or your family, or how has it impacted your life by showing up on social media?
So I never, I never meant for this I never meant to have any sort of platform, I guess, on Instagram, first of all. Like, and mine is small compared to so many people, but I love the community that I've created. But I didn't do it on purpose. And so I guess for so long, I was sharing little pieces of my family just because that's all I was using it for, was to share with family. But then as it started to grow, I really had to figure out, like, what worked for me to share, because I think that there's so much power in sharing your life, but you also have to be protective of your life and know that you don't have to share it all. And so I guess the moment that I think of that social media has had the biggest impact on my life is about a year and a half ago. I had a miscarriage and we lost our baby. And what's so interesting is that for 7 years prior to that, we had been praying for a baby, and it just wasn't happening. And I never talked about that on social media. I never shared it. Some of my close friends and family knew about it, but it was just something I never talked about. And then suddenly, when we got pregnant, I shared about that. And then a few weeks later, when we lost the baby, I shared about that too. And thinking back on that, it's just so interesting to me that for such a long time, I chose not to share a piece of my life. And then suddenly I chose to. And then even when things got hard and didn't go the way that I obviously had prayed for, I shared that too. And so I think that there's going to be pieces of your life that you are just protective of and you're not ready to share. And that's okay. But when I made the decision to share and talk about miscarriage and all of that, I think because of what I choose social media to be, it was one of the most powerful things that I've gone through because of the messages I would receive and the encouragement I would receive and the handwritten notes that I got from people that I've never met in person before. It was so powerful. But I think that it's also such a good reminder that, again, like, you share what you want to share and you share when you're ready. So if you see somebody who's sharing something that you've gone through in life or you're currently going through, just because they're sharing that piece of their life doesn't mean that you have to. Like, don't take that burden of, I have to share because she's sharing that. You don't. Like, if that's a piece of your life that you're protecting, then continue to protect that. But I think that when we build that community and we use our platform for what we want it to be, then when we have those hard times that we're sharing, that community of people that we've grown with, then they'll come with that full support.
100%. Oh my gosh. When you were sharing that journey, I mean, it's so inspiring to watch how, obviously it's a painful thing to be experiencing. And at the same time, you were showing up and finding the good and then using that to share. And so even on those tough days when you're like, hey, I'm not okay. Like, I'm hurt and this is really hard, but how can I use this to spread joy? And I distinctly remember you taking this and spreading joy every single week. It was a movement that you created. And just watching that, and I can't even imagine the amount of people who were looking at you who have maybe experienced the same thing. And even if they weren't in a place to share, they were watching your journey, and it was like you were grabbing the hand of the person next to you and were like, we're in this together. And that's such an incredible way that we can use social media to really just to spread positivity, to bring people together, to create that community, and to really remind each other that we're all connected. We all experience very similar things. And I think oftentimes in the social atmosphere, we feel very alone. It's like, oh, this person has this person has this, and we can do a comparison game on social media. But then it's things like that where you use social media for good, where it's like, no, we're more connected than ever. We're more alike than ever. Let's use this as a tool for good and for community. I just, your whole journey last year was just so impactful for so many. And I really appreciate watching that.
Thank you. That means a lot. But I think that that's what it is. Like, there's so much noise on social media. I mean, you can find, if you have an interest in anything, you can find that somebody that's sharing that on social media. And so I think that's what's so cool about it. But I think it is that those relationships that you form that make it so powerful. I mean, there are people that I text and communicate with that I had never met before in real life. And it's like I have a real relationship, a true friendship with them. And I just think that that's so powerful that we have the opportunity to create that. I think that's awesome. It's so cool.
Absolutely. So when it comes to social media, I loved last night, I saw you put a poll out there of why do you follow the people that you do? So I would love to dive into what people said, because I think that's so fascinating.
Okay. Yeah. I was getting a few things ready for this, and I was like, let's ask people what they do or why they follow people and what it is about it. And the most overwhelming response was when that they follow people because they share the good times and they share the bad times. And I just I smiled when I read that, because that's why I choose to follow people too. Like, if you think about it, like, there are people who are in fashion or cooking that I love to follow. And I am not a fashion person at all. And I'm not really a good cook, but there's certain people that I choose to follow anyways. And as I was thinking about that, I was like, what is it about them that even though I don't have the exact same interest in that as them, that makes me want to follow them? But that's what it is that they have given me the opportunity to build a relationship with them, to have that connection with them just through what they share. So they aren't always perfect, that they don't always look wonderful, that they just show up as they are. And that gives me permission to show up as I am. And I think that is so powerful. But then they also give you glimpses into those tough days. And by no means am I saying that every time we have a bad day, we need to talk about that on social media. That's not what I'm saying. But by showing people that you have those tough times, that you have these struggles, that gives them permission to have those days too, but also to overcome those tough days. So that was the overwhelming response. A lot of people commented on that they like to see a pretty feed, but not that the pictures are perfect, but that they like to see that it just jives in some way. So whether you're using a similar filter, whatever it is, that they do like to see that. But the biggest thing was they want to see the good days and they want to see the bad days. And that excited me so much that's what people want.
People want to see the real. Like they want to see the real. They don't want to see the perfection, because I think we all know, like, there's no such thing. And I think people are tired of seeing a standard that no one can actually live up to. Like, this isn't reality. I want to see the good. I want to see the bad. Sometimes I used to show up on stories and, I would have my hair done and get my makeup done. And like, that would be the only time I'd ever show my face on an Instagram story. And I was like, people want to see you with, in the messy bun, maybe sweaty after a workout, like the real stuff. That's what people relate to. And so I started doing that. And it was crazy to see like how people were interacting in a different way when you were just showing up authentically. Like, this is me in the moment, doing life, doing my thing. Here we are. I'm not perfect. And that's okay.
And it's so freeing.
Yes.
Like, okay, you just want to see me as who I am. Like, you want to just see me perfect. Like, that I can do. Like, I don't have to do a lot of things. I can just be who I am, and that's awesome. And obviously we want to like provide for those people who are choosing to be a part of our community. Like, and so it's not just like, okay, that gives me permission to just show up looking crazy all the time and not having anything for people. I think, but it gives us permission to do it in the way that is us. If I look at people who are doing home decor, there are a bajillion people out there who are sharing their home decor on Instagram. And so rather than that making me feel like that means that I can't do that, it gives me permission to do that in my way. Because I'm a huge believer that like there is only one you that can do things the way that you can. So I can show home decor and another person can show home decor, but nobody's going to do it exactly the way that I do. And not even just like the style, I just mean like how it's presented, so how somebody else is going to present it in one way and I'm going to present it in another way. And we can only do that our way. And I think that is like, that's so cool and so freeing that we are the only person that can do it the way that we can. And so there's people who need us to just show up and to present what we have to present, because we might be that only person for them that can present what they need the way that we can.
Yeah. 100%. Yes, preach it. You know those moments like this hit me hard a couple of weeks ago. I had one of those moments where I heard something. I think I was listening to a podcast and it gave me like a huge shift and like something clicked. It was said in that way by that person. And it made me realize, like, I've heard this line before. I've heard it many, many times, but for some reason, the way that person delivered it and how they showed up as them delivering that same sentence I've heard many times, it clicked for me. And so I think about that with how we show up. It's like a lot of times I feel like we're like, oh, there's people doing this, or someone already posted about this. Like, who am I to put myself out there and share this with the world, share this message or this picture? Like, who am I to do this? And it's like someone is waiting for you to show up as you and deliver that message. Someone is sitting there waiting for that thing to click, but maybe it takes you stepping out and saying it for it to do so. And it just hit me.
Yeah.
It's huge. And you're right. It's so empowering. Like once you just stop the comparison game and you really just allow yourself to show up, like just simply show up day to day, week to week, whatever you do, as you, authentic, like the good and the bad, the ugly, knowing not every single day is going to be perfect and pristine or have the perfect picture for your squares. That's what people want.
Right. It's so true. Yeah. And I think that it's very easy also to look at the numbers on social media and use that as your basis for what you're sharing or what you're posting.
Yeah.
And I think that if you remember that you are the only person that can share things the way that you can, whether you have one person following you or you have hundreds of thousands of people following you, like those people are making that choice to hit that follow button. And there's power in that. Like if I think about that, I'm like, somebody pushed that button and they choose to consume whatever it is that I'm sharing with them. Like that is powerful. And so I think that no matter what that number looks like, to embrace that privilege that you get to pour into that person, I just think that is so huge. And again, only you can do it the way that you can.
100%. I think we always hear the term influencer and everyone's like, I want to be an influencer. I don't have thousands of followers. Like, how can I do this? And you're so right. It's like, if you have one person, you are influencing somebody. Mm-hmm. There you go. It doesn't take hundreds of thousands. It doesn't take a million. If you have 20 people that exactly made the decision to follow you, I've never thought about it that way. Like what a privilege, what a gift that you then get to show up and serve those people and give them value or spread joy and bring, something positive to their day, like, and inspire them with whatever you have within you to do so. Oh, I love that. Huge.
And I sometimes, like, in my mind, because again, the term influencer can have a whole its own thing. And so, but sometimes, like, in my mind, I tell myself that I like try to switch out influencer with impactor. And I'm like, they mean the same thing, but again, sometimes influencer can have this negative connotation to it. But if you think about it as you're an impactor, like you truly have the opportunity to impact somebody in some sort of way, whether it is sharing how you got through a tough time, whether it is sharing your favorite shirt, like it can be you sharing a material thing too, but whatever it is, like you get to have that impact on whoever it is that chose to hit that follow button. And that is like so humbling. That's so humbling. It's awesome.
It really is. Wow. Yeah. Wow. That's crazy. What a gift. So when you think of like your social media now, do you have a process behind it? Do you do a bunch of planning? Is it just kind of day to day? Like what are your like daily or weekly, tips to level up socially?
Okay. So for me, it personally is either like one of two ways. So one way is I'll kind of like look at the week ahead and I'll kind of map out what topics I would want to talk about. So whether it's a new recipe that I want to share, or I want to talk about miscarriage, or I want to talk about infertility, or farm life, or whatever it is. Like sometimes I'll look at my week and I'll kind of map out what it is that I'm going to want to share. The great thing about that is that then when you get to your day and you're just had one of these crazy days and work is insane and you're just like, I'm not going to show up today. It's fine. I'm not going to show up. You can look at your calendar and be like, no, I said I was going to talk about this today. And then you're prepared and you have that ready to go. So some weeks, my weeks are like that. Other weeks, I don't have it planned out. And so what I do, if I'm struggling with how to show up for my community, I have a notebook, and in that notebook, I have a couple pages of random topics that I've thought of. And so if I'll like just be going through my day and suddenly like, oh my gosh, I should talk about my favorite office supplies. I do love office supplies. And then I would write that down in that notebook. So on the days where I'm not sure what I want to share about, I could go into that notebook and look at all of the different ideas that I have. And then it gives me something to share, or something to, some content to pour into that community. So it's usually one of two ways, but I guess there is a third. Sometimes there is just like something sitting on my heart that I'm like, I don't know why I suddenly feel like I need to share this, but I am feeling this today. And then I share that too. So I think it's like a wide spectrum for me, of what that planning looks like. I think the biggest thing is consistency.
Yeah.
Like you just have to show up. And whether that is something as simple as like a few picture snapshots on your stories of what your day has looked like, or whether that is, multiple stories, like whatever that looks like for you today. I think it's just consistency, that you just show up for your community, and pour into them in some sort of way. I think that's key, that you're consistent with it.
100%. So when it comes to social media, has it always been something that came natural to you, or have you had to like work through some like mental blocks to show up more authentically?
Yeah. So again, like when Instagram became a thing, like it wasn't something that I jumped on and I was like, I'm going to do whatever this thing is. I just like, if you scroll back into my feed, I have pictures from like when Instagram first started, and I use like those really super heavy, horrible filters.
The ones that Instagram gives, or Instagram, but like, it's like you're yellow, like ridiculously exactly. Orange or yellow. That's not good.
It's so bad. But anyways, so it just kind of like suddenly I was like, this is so cool. Like I can reach people and have these relationships that I can't have in normal life. And that excited me a lot. So I think that it becoming a thing just happened naturally. And that's kind of my favorite thing about it, is that I've just let it evolve into what it has become. And I pray that it continues to evolve in that way. The biggest thing that I struggle with social media is honestly that comparison game. That like, what do I have to share today that's different than what anybody else has to share today? Or even like when I feel like I do have something to share, sometimes I catch myself even comparing that, like if it's on my heart that I want to talk about going through a miscarriage, sometimes I'll think about it. I'll be like, but somebody else is sharing about losing their child that they held in their hands. And so what I have to share isn't as great as what they have to share. And it's this stupid, disgusting, awful comparison game that we so often play with ourselves. And so in those moments, I literally have to just like stop myself. Like I don't post, I do nothing. I just pause for a moment and I ask myself, what do I want social media to be? Like I said before, like I just asked that. And to me, I need to hear from women who've gone through this, who are going through the same thing, or I want to hear how other people are planting their garden this spring, or I want to hear, there's so many different things that I want to hear. And there are people out there who want to hear what I want to hear, or what I want to share too. And so when I have those moments of comparison, I just have to pause and stop and ask myself, like, am I really going to allow a thought that I'm thinking somebody else is having, that they're not having, stop me from what I want, creating what I want on social media? Because people aren't thinking those things. Like nobody is sitting at home being like, oh, Melissa, like they're just not thinking that, like we like give ourselves too much credit that people are thinking about us in that way, and they're just not. And so just pausing and stopping and then just going for it. And sometimes I'll like post something and then I will put my phone down and I won't look at how many likes it's getting or anything like that. I'll just walk away from it because I just don't want to see it, because then oftentimes your head can go, I should take it down because it's not getting enough engagement. And that's just not the purpose of social media.
100%. I love that you touched on the comparison game, because I think that's what stops a lot of people from showing up day to day. And that honestly, like when I first launched this series and I posted the first video, I found myself like looking back and seeing like, oh my gosh, like has it gotten interaction? Are there likes? Like, always on it. And I was like, okay, this is not doing anything good for me to be constantly looking at my phone to see how this, is getting engagement. I put this out there for a purpose because I know it has value and I want to serve the world. So I did the same thing, left my phone at home, went for a walk with my husband and just like let it go. And I think that's, with social media, when you're putting a post out there, when you're sharing something that's on your heart, not getting so wrapped up in the results of what it is you're putting out there, and just simply using it as, again, a way to show up, to bring value, to spread positivity without just the expectation of what's on the other side of you posting it. I think that's such a good reminder. It helps us to kind of squash that comparison game because it's not about that at all. And you're so right. Like we do give ourselves too much credit where we're like, oh my gosh, what are they going to think of this post?
We do.
I'll be sitting here just scrolling on my phone. Like I'm not thinking, oh, how dare she post that? Like I'm not
exactly
that. And so why do I feel that way that other people are thinking of that about my post? It's just silly. So yeah. But I think we stop ourselves a lot of times. So I'm glad you brought that up because I think it's such an important reminder to just squash those thoughts, take a step back, and then come back at it from a different mindset of you're bringing value, you're sharing your message, showing up, posting something pretty, whatever it may be, and then just leaving it at that.
Yeah.
Huge. So last question as we wrap up, if you could challenge our viewers today to one thing that can help them level up socially, and it can be social media, it can be personal, whatever it may be, what would you say they could start today?
Okay. I actually have two things.
Yeah. Hey, the more the better.
Okay. So the first thing that I would say is like just taking a couple minutes to answer that question of like, what do you want social media to be for you? Or even just socially, what do you want it to look like for you? So like if you think about if Instagram or whatever went away today, like what would people miss about you? Like from your small squares and what you share in stories, what would they be like, oh man, I really miss this from Melissa now that social media is gone. I think that there's so much power in that, like that little legacy that we can leave through those small squares. And so one thing is I would just take a couple minutes and just think about that, like what it is that you want that to look like for you. And then the second thing is that I would do some sort of encouragement on Instagram or anything socially. I think that the power in the written word is so powerful and we often forget that. And so when you love what somebody has to share, you sending them a message is so huge because it might be what they need that day to just be like, okay, what I'm doing, I'm on the right path. Somebody, that one person that needed it, heard it today. There's just so much power in that, and the relationships that happen, and the marketing that happens when you build those relationships with other people. It's incredible what can happen from that. So I think that those would be my two biggest things that you could do right away today.
I love both of those. I especially love the second, how you said showing up and giving encouragement, because I think, again, it's easy to just kind of scroll on by, but if you read something and it hit you, tell that person.
Yeah.
Tell that person. Like you could totally shift their day. It's funny because they show up impacting you with something, but you're coming back to them of like, wow, this really inspired me. That might be the thing that keeps them going, that keeps them posting and showing up in the world. And that's so powerful. Yes. Oh my gosh, my friend. So speaking of all of this social media, where can we find you on the socials? What is your Instagram?
Okay. So my Instagram is really creative. It's my name, Melissa Imbach. And then my website is also melissaimbach.com.
Hey, it makes it easy to find you.
Exactly. It's just me. That's what you get. So
you're really showing up as you, your name and all. Awesome. Well, I just want to say thank you. I mean, watching this back, I'm so excited to take notes and really just dive in and leveling up that social media and really just continuing to show up. And like I said, you do such an incredible job of that. And I'm so excited for our viewers to check your pages out because I know that they will learn so much from you and they'll be inspired from you at the same time. So thank you so much for your time today. And forward to everyone.
Thank you so much. That means the world.